Hey everyone. So I said I was going to post a video about today's assignment, Thursday, April 23rd, in case you had any questions. So we're going to go ahead and just get straight into that. I'm going to share my screen with you all. Okay, so if we look at Thursday's question, it says to write a paragraph explaining the illustration. Describe what it shows about changes in European life at the end of the Middle Ages that led to the flowering of arts and learning called the Renaissance, and to make sure in your response to include trade, banking, towns, city states, classical, and humanism. Feel Just make sure when we're talking about a paragraph, it should probably be at least 4 or 5 sentences, if not more. Um, Not going to be a very good answer if you answer in 1 or 2 sentences. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at that picture. So this is the picture that I asked you to look at. And you can see just from a quick glance at it, it is a flower that is growing, right? A couple of things to look at, right? The flower is labeled the Renaissance, right? We've been learning about the Renaissance period, right? If we take a look here at the soil, right? The soil says Europe because that's where the Renaissance took place, right? The plant is in the soil, right? The Renaissance really took place in Europe. Um, if we move over here, we can look at the roots of this plant, right? The roots of this plant was both the medieval period in Europe and the classical period, right? Those are kind of the two periods of time in Europe that set the stage for the Renaissance, right? They happened really before the Renaissance took place, right? Couple other things to make sure you're looking at. If we look at some of the seeds that were planted, right, those are definitely part of allowing the plant or the Renaissance to grow. The seeds are labeled the growth of city states. We learned about some of the Italian city states, um, you know, and of course, the Renaissance couldn't have grown without the water, right? The travel and the commerce, right? The reason those city states became important was because of all the people that traveled to them, all the trade that took place in those city states. That's what made them successful, right? And just like with the plant, you need the seeds, but you also need to water the plant, right? The seeds on their own aren't necessarily going to allow it to grow if there's no water, right? So the travel and the commerce is the water, the growth of the city states, seeds, and then you see the Renaissance growing, right? They also, however, if we look up here at the sun says humanism, right? Humanism is a philosophy that kind of changed people's thinking during the Renaissance, right? Uh, Particularly in the fields of art, science, philosophy, right? And that's going to allow the flowers to bloom from the plant, right? You have art, learning, um, and so you really need all of this together, right? This plant is kind of a metaphor for how the Renaissance began, right? Of course, its roots are the medieval classical period. This is all happening. Oh, made it a little too big. That's okay. Um, it all took place in Europe in the soil, right? The growth of city states combined with travel and commerce and humanism allowed this plant, the Renaissance, to grow. And then you saw big advancements with art and learning. Hopefully that helped. If it didn't, please come send a message to me. If you do a private comment by your questions, I can answer those if you don't want to make it a public question. I have office hours from 10 to 12 today. Hopefully, you're viewing this video before then. If so, then you can definitely contact me during that time. I will be available if you have questions to get those answered. Um, if not, good luck, um, and stay safe. Bye.